not be affected by it, the drug use in Rochester will not be affected by it, crime will not be affected by it. And yet, I know a bunch of not-for-profits, that are actually working on things. There's a group working on a tiny house or tiny home village for homeless people. And Sister Grace has another project that she's working on for homeless people. And there's been a huge rise of homelessness. We have other not-for-profits that are working on things from jobs to transport to jobs and other things.
It is.
Why can't, if I understand these grants, they can go for renovation, development, demolition, other things. And it seems to me that it would be way better used with one of these non-for-profits looking for housing for various problems rather than basically increasing the profit of some rich white guy. Could we send it back and think a little harder, ask the administration to do better for Rochester? Because I know they can. Thank you.
Commissioner Lyle Avenue. I just wanted to say that any problem with housing or homelessness is ultimately a supply problem. And while we should certainly do things to advance more affordable and subsidized housing, building housing at any level will tend to improve the situation, and high-end and market-rate housing also increases the tax base. So treating it like a either-or situation is a mistake. Thank you and have a good night.
Good evening, Council. Merry Christmas. I really like to echo what the Speaker Price originally said, Mr. Adam here, right? Let's think about what we're not highlighting here. The families. I got numbers today that there's 1,104 students homeless in your city. Let that sink in tonight. It's about to be Christmas. And we're talking about more high-income housing. Look at my Facebook, Oscar Brewer. I just went into the Northeast District and I found houses with brand new boards up. Why are we not reinvesting into these properties, sir? Ladies and gentlemen, why are we not making these houses? You love using this term affordable housing when you're, please vote for me. When you say affordable housing, do we mean high-income housing? Or do we mean truly affordable housing for your constituents? The promises you make when you're knocking on their doors. Look at the children. Councilmember Lupian, you speak highly about the children and the impact of the lack of housing our children go through. My child represents that 1,104 students that are homeless in our school district. What have you done? And so yet it is Christmas. Please, not push this back. Say no to it. Take that money and invest it into the housing market we have and build housing for the struggling families that you were elected to serve. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
Seeing no additional speakers, that hearing is now adjourned.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter. Resolution endorsing Monroe County application for Restore New York Communities Initiative Round 9 grant to support the Times Square Building Rehabilitation Project. Introductory number 459. Any persons designed to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Seeing no speakers, that hearing is now adjourned. So we will now begin our Speak to Council session. All speakers will be given 2 minutes at the podium. We respectfully ask that each speaker offer council the same respect that they would expect to receive in return. In doing so, please refrain from profanity and other harmful language. Council members do have the contact information for all of tonight's speakers and may follow up on any interests or concerns that pique their interest. Clerk Washington will call each speaker to the podium. We ask that you respect the time of those waiting behind you and yield the podium at the end of your allotted 2 minutes. Under council rules, the city clerk will call city residents first. Since this is the Rochester City Council, we must prioritize our citizens speaking to their elected representatives. Clerk Washington.
Nora Goodman. Nora Goodman. Kevin McBride. He's followed by Samantha Dinga.
I'm going to elaborate further on why I've decided not to look for another apartment in the city of Rochester. Last year, Ithaca Renting Company won in the lawsuit our state attorney general filed against the company back in 2022. According to the information currently available on the internet, Ithaca Renting Company's attorney successfully argued that it was a violation of the New York State's Constitution, as well as the United States Constitution, to require a landlord to accept Section 8 vouchers. This finding stems from both the landlord and tenant to give up privacy rights to meet the inspection requirements of a Section 8 voucher. There is word from the state attorney general about appeal being filed, but no information is available on the status of the appeal from what I can access. Us tenants do accuse landlords of potential violation of rights under state and national constitutions. However, what example are we showing to our legislators at state and national levels when we too break the Constitution of our national government? Our New York State Attorney General and lawyers representing municipalities in New York State could be breaking the constitutions based on a ruling of the IRC case. Unless and until the United States Supreme Court rules in favor of a New York State Attorney General in any such lawsuit, I will not waste my time looking for another apartment in the city of Rochester.
Samantha Dinga is followed by Joseph Maxim.
Firstly, free Palestine and end all U.S. arms sales to Israel. Give the Rochester Animal Services folks a vet. And let the PA bead workers unionize. You have to know that spending tens of thousands of dollars on a union-busting lawyer against the group that's trying to get the city's over-budget cops to stop killing people is a bad look. So we're here for the 7th straight month asking you to pass good cause. In that time, there have been hundreds of your constituents coming to speak to council and town halls, urging you that a watered-down partial measure that disqualifies thousands of people from the protections isn't enough, and that every person in Rochester deserves to trust that their housing can't be taken away from them without reason. A reminder that this is what the good cause eviction protections are, making sure that the people who are following all the rules and jumping through the hoops can't be thrown out on the street with 60 days notice just so the landlord can hike the rents or avoid fixing code violations. It's honestly deplorable that eviction is legal at all when the city doesn't have adequate and safe shelters for any of its populations and has failed to reestablish Peace Village before winter after its destruction earlier this year. Good cause is just one step of the shift that our city needs to see to keep its residents safe. I believe that if all of you in your positions of power didn't have all of your secure and stable housing with heat and electric that you can afford to go back to, I'm sure you could have found it in your schedule to check your due diligence boxes by now to make good cause, a study for public utility, affordable housing, and the rebuilding of Peace Village happen. We all know that the city of Rochester doesn't currently have the infrastructure to keep our unhoused neighbors safe. And because of this, your constituents are urging you to not let unnecessary eviction happen to people who have, quote unquote, done everything right. No one deserves the threat of freezing to death. Another month of delay and you'll find another wave of families in Rochester on the street. You make the call if you want that as your legacy. The strongest version of good cause needs to be passed without another delay.
Joseph Maxim. Joseph is followed by Walid Muhammad.
Good evening, City Council. Lachey Harris, the way you spoke to Oscar was very rude and disrespectful in the hallway last week. I'm asking you to please pass good cause eviction in its strongest form. And Mike, your district, I've walked your district. You need to step up and do something. And, I'm giving you coal to remind you that you're doing a crappy job running your district.
Walid Muhammad. Vicky Zaporia. Zapora. My apologies.
That's okay. Nobody usually gets it right. I am here again tonight to ask you to pass the strongest form of good cause eviction. Please do not delay one more month, one more day. It is cold outside, the holidays are here, and I have seen way too many people sleeping in tents. Last week, I did some outreach to our homeless neighbors, and I met a veteran who served for 8 years, who asked me to get him a flashlight because all he had was a Hanukkah candle to see after the sun set at 4:30 p.m. The housing crisis in Rochester is only worsening. This is the only way in front of you that you can help. There's more ways you can help, but this is an easy way. Passing the strongest form of good cause will prevent anyone else from losing their home for no justifiable reason. And lastly, I just want to say that if the police have a union, it is completely unjust that the PAB cannot have one. It is completely unjust. And they have provided enough evidence to show that RPD does not keep people safe. So please allow PAB to help keep people safe. We all want everybody to be safe. I want everybody to be safe and have a home and be sure in themselves that they're not going to lose that home just because a greedy landlord gets sick of them one day. I don't have to sit here and talk about how the homeless shelters are all full. I don't have to sit here and talk about how there's no place for domestic violence survivors to go. I don't have to sit here and talk about how there's not a single shelter that says that they're LGBTQ friendly. Not a single one. This is a problem for all of us. I don't care where you stand on whatever other issue. People should be able to be in a house and be safe when the weather is like this. Period. Especially our kids. Thank you.
Ben Coleman. Ben Coleman. Matt Seidel is followed by Neam Gribbins.
Here to talk about good cause, and like a lot of people here, I'm getting tired of having to ask all of you to do the right thing. I want to acknowledge that some of you have been champions for good cause since the beginning. Others took longer to come on board, but trust me when I say your support is noticed and will be remembered. To those who are still against good cause, I have to wonder if you really think it's right that people should be afraid to call their landlords to make urgent repairs because they're afraid they'll be kicked out onto the streets. This isn't a hypothetical. You've all heard in this very room horror stories from people who have suffered retaliation from landlords. This is especially horrible to think about during winter. I'm proud to be part of the Rochester Grants Pass resistance. Because of them, I've been fortunate enough to do outreach and visit unhoused neighbors with supplies. As much as I'm proud to do this kind of outreach, it infuriates me that it's necessary at all. And it makes me even angrier to think that not having good cause puts so many hardworking people, families, and children on the verge of being on the streets too. People deserve to feel secure and safe in their homes. They don't deserve to be forced out through absurd rent hikes or for reporting unsafe housing conditions or for no reason at all. I've seen firsthand how the fight for good cause has rallied people across Rochester because it affects over 60% of your constituents directly as renters. We will remember how each and every one of you votes next week, and whether you support a strong version of good cause or a watered-down version that undermines its entire purpose. I hope you see this as an opportunity to show whose side you're on. Thank you.
Neam Gribbins is followed by Lisa Coleman.
I'm a lucky woman. My 1-year anniversary of living in Rochester was Monday. I came here last December to escape an unsafe housing situation for me, where promises had been made and then suddenly broken, leaving me on the street due to my being not good enough. 1 year ago, a friend stepped up and gave me more than promises. They gave me action. Within a week of my being put into homelessness, they had driven 7 hours to Boston to help me pick up what fit in their car, and I moved to Rochester, leaving most of my life behind. They let me stay in their home for 4 months until I found my own place. I was homeless from December until April, but I was safe. Their actions and continued help through my troubles with my landlord, and the actions of others as well this whole year have kept me safe and able to be a part of this community, which I have grown to love. I am lucky I have gotten the help I needed to not become another statistic on the street. I have learned this last year that there are people who promise things, and there are people who just do them. I have lived my whole life needing help I didn't receive. Promises were made to me that if I just tried harder and was good enough, things would work out. For a decade, I did everything right, and it hurt because I had been diagnosed with OCD at 11 but wasn't told, and was never tested for autism even though my teachers urged my parents to. They promised me there was nothing wrong with me, that I didn't need help. But we all need help, whether we have OCD and autism and struggle with mental health that becomes so much we break, or we take care of 7 children all on our own in a home that's being taken from us, or we use all our energy taking care of others because of how much we care, or we struggle with holding the responsibility of representing the people of an entire city. We must help each other and be willing to receive help. It is our actions, not our promises, that affect change for those who need it. Please let me help with the following 3 questions to give you all an opportunity to publicly act. 1, will one of you come forward to amend Introductory 251 on December 17th? 2, will one of you come forward to discharge Introductory 251? 3, will one of you motion to vote on the strongest possible version of Introductory 251, good cause? On behalf of the
Excuse
people
me,
we
your time is
represent,
up.
please come forward and make these motions. Show us through their actions that you are committed to the specific process.
Liesl Coleman.
Good evening, City Council. Liesl Coleman. I'm a resident in the South District. Tonight I'm here to basically encourage you guys to vote yes on Tuesday. We've had a long conversation about good cause. For some of us, it's going back to 2022. For some of us, it's going back to the 80s when good cause was first introduced in the city of Albany. Today, what I want to say is that good cause is just the start of addressing this housing crisis that we've been in, and since this land was stolen from the Haudenosaunee people to create this society. What we need to do is we need to continue to take housing out of the private market and make socially backed housing. I was recently in Spain on a housing delegation regarding creation of social housing. Their government uses eminent domain to take properties from landlords that aren't keeping up and puts it into permanently affordable social housing for everyone. So the fact that no one has to be on the street when it feels like 2 degrees outside. I'm so excited that we are at this point, that we're voting on good cause, but we cannot stop here. We need to immediately start to think about other solutions that get our people off the street and into permanent housing. So I'm encouraging all of you to vote yes on the strongest version of good cause, but to think bigger about what it would mean to really create safety and community for all of the members of our city and beyond. So when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win.
Dr. Irene Katsamanis. Dr. Irene Katsamanis. Lori Thomas. Lori is followed by Alex White.
Good evening. I'd like to thank City Council for once again ignoring the public voice in favor of development company profits and community controllers. Neighbors at the west end of Beechwood, where 7 properties will be designated for 6-family unit construction, did not want the 6-family units and signed petitions saying so. 6-family units within a small 3-block area is unnecessary and possibly unsafe for current neighbors who will reside next to them. However, it wasn't financially profitable for HL Home Leasing to reduce the 6-family units to 4-family units as requested. Ignoring the public voice was the only way they could profit from the project. Why has Connected Communities been given approval from the Beechwood Neighborhood Coalition, an organization that is supposed to represent all Beechwood residents? Currently, the majority of criminal activity that occurs in Beechwood takes place at the west end of the neighborhood, where the majority of drug houses are. This is of little importance to the BNC, evidenced by the fact that their Facebook page administrators did not allow me to post the Beechwood alerts notifications of the criminal activity occurring at our end of the neighborhood. I ask you, is your poverty initiative to encapsulate those who are impoverished in certain areas to be more easily managed? Is it the goal of this council to discourage home ownership, which any financial analyst will tell you is the best way out of poverty? Does this council think so little of our children that putting 6-family on small lots in a dangerous neighborhood addresses poverty? There was a problem with your form of governance. You are not working for the people of Rochester. So now the people of Rochester must begin to provide the legislation and oversight necessary to project a positive, successful vision of who we are. Mahatma Gandhi said, "The true measure of a society is how it cares for its most vulnerable." The way we treat our children, our elders, and our animals is atrocious. What does that say about our city? It's time for a change. It's time for neighbors to unite to form a more humane government that actually teaches its children how to fish to alleviate poverty instead of making them dependent on the government for their needs, which only elevates it. Thank you. Neighbors Unite, 585.
Alex White is followed by Kevin Stewart.
Greetings, Council. I'm Alex White, and I live in the South Wedge. And what I want to do is encourage you not to vote yes on the renovation of the Gannett building and the $2 million grant they're going to receive. Now, normally I just like grants, particularly when they come from the state. But my problem is this project is giving $2 million to someone who doesn't need it, who is already halfway through the project, to basically just pump up their profits. Rochester, then this project is not going to solve any problems. Further, this is like the fourth time you've dipped into the well to give money on this. You gave money when it was bought. The building was bought from Gannett. You gave money to build a new building for the DNC. You gave money to move the DNC over, and now you want to give money to renovate this building. Is there no limit? And this doesn't solve any of our problems, particularly housing, because if you're unaware, the AMI in this area counts Pittsford and many other counties around the area and is $91,000. That means 60% rent can go for $1,372 a month. Is that affordable to any of you? Seriously. This is not going to lower rent. It's not going to help poor people who rely upon housing vouchers, which are $440 a month, in case you didn't know, which is about a third of what they're going to rent this for. It's a complete problem in not going to do anything, but also studies have shown that bringing more high-end housing in only raises housing prices, which is another problem, and you even identified it. Please, vote no on this project because it is just going to make things worse in Rochester. Thank you.
Kevin Stewart is followed by Elizabeth McGriff.
Evening. The first reason I'm here is to ask this council to pass a resolution in support of PAB Workers United. Funding a lawsuit to block our ability to choose our own representation is anti-labor, and this body must set the record straight if it claims to support Rochester workers. The second and most important reason I'm here is to express the sense of shame and disappointment I felt after we failed again to pass good cause eviction in November. We have had quadrant meetings, public hearings, an incredibly thorough staff report, and we heard the same things that this community has been saying for 6 months, and still nothing has been done to protect the renters of this city. We host events on child poverty, on homelessness, and food insecurity, pretending not to know that letting our neighbors get forced from their homes directly contributes to poverty and hunger and addiction. That is the choice that this council made last month. Despite having the votes to get it done, you chose to put dozens of families out of their homes in December. It will be 18 degrees tonight. On Monday, there was a children's town hall where the youth of this city spoke out about the fear that they face when they think about their future. Climate change is here, fascism is in the White House, and the people of our city are hurting. It is time to act. Putting semantics and petty politics over the lives of our neighbors has no place in the world we're facing. Rise to the moment and lead with the courage that this city needs. We cannot take this long to pass common sense protections in a city where 63% of our community rents their homes. Pass the best version of good cause now. Thank you.
Elizabeth McGriff is followed by John Lindsay.
I've been here before. You guys have heard my voice. And I would like to see good cause put in place to protect the residents of our community. On the 28th, we brought a petition of organizations that support good cause. There's 34 organizations that support good cause in the city of Rochester. We have also a signed petition of tenants who have signed in support of a good cause. We have 188 who have signed the petition, and we also have an electronic filing of another 242. So this is something that's in the community. It's something that we need. I don't know who. I brought it 3 times to City Council for people to accept. And then when it was talked about, nobody said they saw it. So I was a little bit disappointed because what is the process when we bring information about people in this community? I did that last week. And when they have said, you know, we want to see a change in our community. President Melendez, I sent you 2 people who are suffering and who would be covered by good cause. And their lights are out. They paid their rent, and their lights are out. And they have no heat in their home. 3 months, no heat. This is when we talk about justice, we talk about a balance. And I know there was a program for the city of Rochester when landlords didn't make repairs, where tenants could call and get those repairs made by the city and then billed to the landlord. Now you have a landlord incentive program, and nobody's doing the right thing. So I think you need to rethink what you're doing and how you're doing, and I'd like to give this to Mary.
John Lindsay is followed by Mallory Zamansky.
This is, in January, is the beginning of a new term. It's the beginning of a new year. I'm John Lindsay, and I'm here for the Citywide Tenants Union. And I want to say that one of the most important variables of a good life, or quality life, is housing. That's the number one variable in having a good life. Having a good life is having a quality home. There's so many people that don't even have that. So what is the quality of their life? I am asking for to vote on the best version of good cause. It's the beginning of a trail to a better Rochester. It opens the doors for you, builders, landlords, their management, and the tenants. It opens the door for the need to show transparency on having a better Rochester. And the fullest version of good cause is leaving no one behind.
Your time is up.
Everyone go forward in a good year. Thank you.
Mallory Zamansky.
Hi, council members. I live in the 19th Ward, and I moved from Florida about 6.5 years ago, and when my partner and I decided where we were going to live, we were moving to Western New York, and it wasn't clear where. We did some homework, and we looked at all the different neighborhoods in the region, and we picked the 19th Ward out of all of them, precisely because of its history of resistance to unjust housing policy. We want to be part of that legacy. We want to inherit that long, rich history. So thank you to those of you who've been champions of good cause this whole time. Thank you for those of you who've come along more recently. And I believe that those of you who haven't yet come along, that you're on your way and that you will join us on the right side of history, because I so deeply believe in this city and its legacy of doing the right thing for the most vulnerable among us, for its capacity to withstand what seems like this pretty intense wave of fascism coming for us, where New York and maybe even Rochester is poised to be a haven, a leader, a place where we can say proudly we take care of ourselves, each other, we take care of us, we choose policy that protects and houses the most vulnerable among us. We inherit a really powerful legacy, especially those of us in the 19th Ward, and we have a responsibility to steward that legacy forward. So I implore you to pass the strongest version possible of good cause eviction. Thank you very much.
Is it Terrence? Yes. What's your name, sir? Yes.
When I was here in October, one speaker verbalized what has been an undercurrent in every argument I have heard for good cause eviction. She said that she didn't believe being a landlord was a real job, and she doesn't even know what they do. Therein lies the problem. Good cause is not a pro-tenant policy. It is an anti-landlord policy. In a Marxist utopia, it would be unnecessary. In the real world, it is harmful. What responsible landlords do in the real world in this city is supply the resources necessary to make available, maintain, and improve housing, rental housing, for the vast majority of Rochester residents. If we send them the message that we believe that they are illegitimate and none unnecessary, and that we have zero concern about their property and contractual rights, the problem will not improve, it will become worse. And whatever form of good cause eviction you pass, its advocates will come back, fail to recognize that they made the problem worse, and tell you you need to drink more snake oil and use brown shirt tactics to pressure you. Thank you and have a good night.
Justin Kieber King is followed by Oscar Brewer.
Hello, my name is Justin Kieber King. I am a renter in Brighton. I want to show my support and implore you all to pass good cause next week. I think everybody that's come out in support of good cause has made so many really good points, both here and in the past months, if not years. I think another point that I've been thinking about the past week or so is that something that was said, I forget exactly who said it, but in the city council, in a city council meeting last month, somebody said that, kind of reminded the folks that were here listening that if good cause is passed, it won't, the effects of it won't take place immediately. They're still going to the mayor, going through the state, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's, while it was also a really good point to show, hey, these things won't happen immediately, or the effects of good cause won't happen immediately, I think that is also such a dire reason why it's so important to pass it as soon as possible. Because the longer we wait, it's not just, oh, hey, we're leaving people out in the cold, in the dark for another month. It's for that month, however long it takes to pass it here, and then however long it takes to actually go through the system and go through all of the, the places that it needs to go through to actually get it to affect the city of Rochester and make our place a better place to live. So with that, I just want to thank you for your continued, those of you that have continued to support and champion good cause. Really want to thank you, and for the rest of you and all of you, have a happy holidays and a good new year. Thank you.
Oscar Brewer is followed by Carol Giordino.
Well, good evening again. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you call it. Councilmember Life, but thank you for your, stance last month. I really want to highlight that to the community. To our three champions, with respect to Councilmember Smith not being here, Councilmember President Miguel Melendez, thank you for that great report, the amendments. Real quick, I looked at the state court system today. 11,726 warrants of evictions this year. Zip code 14621, ladies and gentlemen. 2,023 warrants of evictions. How many of those evictions could have been halted or put on a stipend or whatever you want to call it by good cause eviction? So I'm here to ask you diligently, not yell at you. I've been doing that for years. Been kicked out of chambers twice in 2 months. But I do yell if I got to because you're not listening. So I will not shut up and I will not stop yelling. But tonight, I'm asking you from the bottom of my heart, father to fathers that's on this council, father to mothers that's up there, ask the strongest version of good cause. Do your due diligence. It's not that hard. It's just a small pebble into the pond that would have a great effect. You heard a naysayer saying it's going to hurt landlords. Ladies and gentlemen, landlords are not hurting. I don't know if you checked it lately. Ladies, landlords are not hurting. They are not hurting. You know who's hurting? Your constituents and their children. Children that goes to school with your daughters and your granddaughters, whatever the case might be, right? Right? We want anti-violence, pass good cause. You want health care? Pass good cause. You want public safety? Pass good cause. Homelessness is increasing in this city. It's your job. See you next week.
Carol Giordino. Carol Giordino. Brenna Pachaco Walker is followed by Marcus C. Williams.
Hello, my name is Marina Pacheco Walker, and I am a former employee of the Rochester Police Accountability Board. Over the past 3 years, the PAB has experienced internal turmoil due to the mistreatment of its employees. During this time, they have shown evidence of workplace toxicity and threats made against them that have been continually ignored, with many former employees being constructively discharged in retaliation for speaking out and working to resolve these issues. 2 such unfounded terminations happened just before Thanksgiving. I do appreciate the City Council members who have voted no on introductory 411, which would have allocated another $50,000 in funding towards union-busting efforts, but there is more to be done. A 3-year problem can be ended today if council members and Malik Evans choose to recognize the PAB Workers United. Furthermore, the city must cease its interference with this agency and the undermining of their reporting. It's your duty to fulfill the wishes of Rochesterians who voted for the PAB by properly funding this agency, ensuring they have the access, information access, and legal authority necessary to investigate these claims of misconduct against RPD. Finally, I would like to make a statement about good cause eviction and ask that all council members please push for the strongest form of this legislation. Because at the end of the day, public safety and welfare are at the heart of both of these issues. Too many of us are 1 or 2 tragedies away from homelessness. And far too many Rochesterians live on the streets already and are being criminalized for it. I challenge you all to do better and to take an active role in breaking these cycles of harm. Thank you very much.
Marcus C. Williams is followed by Michael Lohr.
Hey everybody, Marcus C. Williams here. Good evening, Merry Christmas, and thank you for the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and Happy Hanukkah to you, brother. Now, we stand on the precipice of where we are about to say, oh yeah, let's do good cause. Everybody's let's do good cause. Good cause is a lie. It's a lie that's been sold to people that it'll be the solution to their issues, and we've already heard tonight that it's not even a real solution, that they're gonna need more stuff after that. Why don't we just actually address the issue of people losing their homes and losing their properties and being kicked out of their homes because they can't afford anything, because we're encouraging all of these people to move from outside of the city into the city, not even from the surrounding area, but from way out where they got more money. The problem is the continuing price increase that's going on. Y'all about to go and fill in the inner loop over on the north, and you know good and well all them people over there ain't got no type of money, so when you fill in the inner loop, they're gonna get kicked out of grandma's house that they've owned for 3 generations because the taxes is gonna go up and the affordability gonna go crazy. So we're looking at this and we're addressing it without actually addressing it. We're just letting people come in here every day, push tactics that are little less than what was pushed in the Third Reich, and they're getting away with it because instead of it being like lily white, okay, what we're doing is lily liberal. That's what's being pushed here. This liberalism, leftism, far left nonsense, which is harming our community, which is largely centered around small government and keeping the government out of our business. We don't want bigger government. We want smaller government. We want the issues that we have actually addressed, not played in our face and said, oh, well, here's this, and let's give you something next week. It is like he said, it is snake oil, and we're not being told the truth, and I'd encourage you guys to stand up, especially the people that know better, because I know y'all there, I'm not going to say anything. Also, y'all that don't stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, y'all ain't right, and y'all don't need to be on the council, and that's a violation. Y'all be blessed and be well. Have a Merry Christmas. Catch y'all later.
Michael Lohr is followed by Tiara Grayson.
Hello, Council. Michael Lohr, representing Voiceless of Verona. Procrastination. I'd like to define it tonight. I think it's a good theme. Procrastination is the act of delaying or putting off tasks until the last minute or past their deadline. It's not just a time management problem. Researchers suggest that it's a failure in self-regulation that leads to us acting irrationally. Irrationally, yeah, I would say that's the case here. We're coming up on 4 years where we've been bringing you our concerns, our complaints, and our solutions for the city shelter on Verona Street. And what have you done? Procrastinate. You know, I always wanted to be a procrastinator, I just never got around to it. But I can see here that most of you have excelled quite good at it. And who's suffering? Yep, just like you hear every month, it's the animals. I'm beginning to believe, sadly, that nothing we do or say is going to have any significant impact on making any significant change. And guess what else? New York State will be mandating significant changes to all shelters 1 year from now. This should not be a surprise. What will be a surprise is when Mayor Evan realizes the tens of thousands, if not more, dollars spent on study after study for the last 20 years on what the shelter needs. Okay, now just imagine if all that money spent on the studies was just put into the shelter for hiring staff. I'm sorry, is my common sense showing? Once again, procrastination is the act of delaying or putting off tasks until the last minute or past their deadline. Your deadline is 1 year away, you better get busy. And one thing before I go, I got 10 seconds to let you know, a pet was returned to the animal shelter today and the director put it down. Please look into that for us, would you? Stanley, thank you.
Tiara Grayson. Maria Gonzalez. Asa Adams. Maria Gonzalez. Yeah, okay. All right, after Maria. Thank you.
Hi,
I just want to talk about the homeless. I didn't know the homeless has rules and regulation when they're outside on the street looking for homes. Okay? If there's a rule, I would like a list of that. Because I had to help a homeless person just to go step to step to get help. And the only thing that I can tell them is go to DSS and open an open case. Rather, so they can help them get a shelter or a home. I didn't know homeless need to do that. I thought a homeless is supposed to go to that shelter, and if there's a bed, come on, help them. Not just throw them out on the street again, looking for another shelter to see if they can put them in there. So I would like to know where are the rules and regulations of whatever homeless you has in there going around, because it's sad that me had to go and help this person, disabled, especially, get him a shelter, and then after that, open a case to DSS so they can help him. I didn't know a homeless had to have an open case just to get shelter. So I just want to know what are the rules and regulations of a homeless. Because it's so sad they have to go through all those steps and they're still on the streets, sleeping on the streets. Okay? And it's so sad that me, myself, other people are nice and cozy at home, and other people are in the streets. Okay? It's not right. You have to have rules and regulations of a homeless so they can know where they're supposed to go step by steps. Thank you.
Asa Adams is followed by Maggie Kane.
My name is Asa Adams. My name is Asa Adams. I'm here to give my appreciation to at least two people for helping to save a woman's house from foreclosure. They thought it couldn't be done. It was done. It proved to me a couple things, especially when I ran into the LLC. They got it. He told me he had a friend on city council. It better not be one of y'all, because I'm coming after you. Because I'm using AI, which means I can trace your life down to its smallest T. And I got a funny feeling I know who the person is. But after that, we need to do better. I heard this person said good cause is not the answer to the question. The question is, how did we get this way in the first place? It came from lack of government, people being involved. You are supposed to serve us, not in reverse. These people have no business coming here crying to you guys when y'all know better. I see already what has to be done, especially from the top to the bottom. We have to change the government around. So some of you guys will probably not sit in this seat next year, and some of you guys probably have ambitions beyond your wildest dreams. I don't think you're going to even achieve that, because a lot of things are going to happen. And I know one thing for a fact, if you don't pass good cause, you're going to have that courthouse over there packed. You're not going to be able to deal with criminals because you're going to spend so much time dealing with eviction. You need to think about what you got to do. And to those who hesitated on voting on this thing, think twice, because it just could be you sooner than you think. It don't take much. As far as I know, from my niece's words in Cincinnati that told me, we're going to go through another COVID. And if that has to go through on us now, we better be ready for something ugly to happen. And I appreciate your help. The lady was happy that y'all got her house.
Your time is up. Maggie Kane is followed by Elena Blake.
Good evening, Council. I'm standing here again, almost for the fourth year in a row, talking about the shelter, the lack of staffing, the lack of funding. You can't do this, you can't do that. I'm asking you, what can you do? Now, according to last month The mayor is going to get rid of the requirement for the vet, for the shelter, the city requirement. That's great. So now that's going to take another 3 or 4 months to get a vet. The good cause eviction ties deeply into the amount of animals that are being abandoned in this city. When you look, I mean, I check all that. When you go to Verona Street Animal Society and they show the animals that are being dumped, they're mostly dumped in the 14621 area. Yet for the last 2 days, there has been 20 dogs in the shelter, 20 new dogs. Okay, dogs that are dumped, supposedly lost people are dumping because a lot of them are getting evicted out of their homes. So it just shows that the correlation between vulnerable people, vulnerable animals, that as a city of good neighbors, aren't we supposed to be looking out for each other and taking care of the most vulnerable? And animals, homeless, and I don't just stand up here and say, oh, I also actually volunteer every Sunday with Raw Recovery, and I see the homeless. I see what happens. I see the puppy that I bought on Sunday from somebody selling it because I didn't want it to end up to go to the shelter because there's not enough room at the shelter. There's also no separate place for it in case it got infected because there's been parvo outbreaks there. So I don't know. I've been here asking, pleading. Please then pass the good cause eviction, and maybe you can actually help the animals in that way. Thank you.
Elena Blake. Elena Blake. Kevin Lockhart is followed by Lori Finby.
Hello, hi. So we're entering into the bicentennial of Rochester's history, and to who do we owe the credit to this city's legacy? It's always been the same career politicians that have been in office for decades as this city declined into a war zone. Each of you signed an oath of office to affirm the Constitution. That time has come. Today I'm calling on each of you to affirm the 14th Amendment and call on the Board of Elections to create elected seats in the legislative body proportional to population to be recognized by the Board of Elections. We cannot sustain this two-tiered system of county versus city government. We need to secede and incorporate as towns. We need to create 4 school district committees for each of the school districts to replace the liaisons to the Central School Commission. We're part of a larger network of cities zoned in a similar way. So by liberating ourselves, we liberate others. Because centralized government is dangerous, it's cruel. Several instances of cruelty by this government come to mind recently. They attacked police and firefighters. They censor this public forum from their website. They closed down homeless encampments. They created a 15-year comprehensive plan. This city created a 15-year comprehensive plan that incorporates ghettos into their vision. They appoint street lieutenants to administer tax funding instead of elected committees recognized by the Board of Elections. And they make an absolute debauchery of the city school districts. We need to change. This type of centralized government is cruel, it's dangerous, and the only people that profit are the government and the administration.
Lori Finby.
Happy holidays, City Council members. I'm here representing Voices of Verona again. As Maggie said, they've been coming for 4 years, and it seems like nobody's listening to us. There's a stray crisis in Rochester, and it gets worse every week, every day. Recently on Voiceless of Verona, they took in 25 dogs this week. If you guys would even read Facebook, read Verona Society Facebook page, you would cry every day and get sick to your stomach about the animals that are just abandoned and picked up and euthanized now because there's no space. There's a grant from New York State for the New York State Companion Animal Capital Fund, and the deadline for it is December 20th. Do any of you know if Verona Street is applying for this grant? Because if they are 100% would qualify. I don't know if there's enough employees there to apply for the grant. but it's to improve facilities to meet the deadlines for December 2025. Mayor Evans hired Stacy Papadopoulos, and he said the new leader of one of our most important city services, providing the well-being for shelter animals. Neither the city, the mayor, you guys, Shirley Green, or the new director is doing diddly to provide well-being for the shelter animals. Diddly. You guys got to do something. It's heartbreaking. I literally go cry reading these reports.
Nora Goodman. Walid Muhammad.
My name is Wali Muhammad. I'm from the plantation of Beechwood. I came here to explain my concerns about the property that's being sold in Beechwood. I spoke to you, Mr. Miguel, about the issues of the landlord. Now, you allowed him to clear all his property and put it in LLCs. And, you know, when you tell someone the DOJ's on them and they go over here and start selling properties and doing this, there's a concern to me about this. I lived 4 years in that house. I had dealt with bed bugs, animal, and the property that has not even been taken care of. Property management, he calls the city and tells them, hey, listen, I'll take care of it when I want to take care of it, or I'll call you back and schedule it. For 4 years, I know people, black folks, and black, brown folks in our community that have not been able to keep their homes because of the lack of money they have to fix these homes. But this man can accumulate it. He's part of the CLT, the City Roots Land and Trust. He's part of the. He's a member of the Beechwood Association. This little home, this little flower home, is the only one who can accumulate over 14 houses in the last 4 years, Miss Lupin. This man works under your foundation. And now all of a sudden, he's disbanded. Now he's just getting rid of everything right now. I've watched him. I went to an attorney. I said, the information I have here is enough to put people in jail. There is fraud going on. When you can change the property search database, when you can change and alter the city clerk's information and get fake notaries, that's a concern to me. And I want to talk to Mrs. Martin and Mrs. Harris. The only people I think are fighting for the people I think they're fighting for. And I want to show you the proof I have. You're not just going to go like this to us. I'm not a slave. I'm not your nigger. I'm nothing to people. You're going to treat us like people. This man is, I've suffered. I've had back pains, and I have, I have scars that I have to deal with. People coming in and stealing.
Your time is up, sir.
Like that. So if I can, I would like to show you what I have.
Ben Coleman. Dr. Irene Casamanis. Tierra Grayson. Elena Blake.
All right, we have reached the end of our Speak to Council session for this month. Thank you all who attended and participated tonight. The regular council meeting will be Tuesday, December 17th at 6 p.m. here in Chambers. Have a good night, everyone.
Can I stop it now?
Yeah, go ahead.